Alright guys, in this video I'm going to be showing you how you can make Squid Game's glass bridge challenge in Roblox Studio. So let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is we want to create the bridge that the players will be walking over. So let's do that first. So I'm going to insert a part right over here, and that's going to be our spawn. So I'm going to make it a little bigger. So let's say 16 times 1 times 16. And place it right over here. I'm also going to have another part, but that's going to be for the end location. So I'm going to drag it down here. I'm going to name our starting part start and our ending part end. Now we have to create the bridge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 3 parts that will basically go down the length of the bridge. So there's the first part. Second part will go on the other end, and then we're going to have a part in the middle. So basically in the gaps over here, we're going to have the steps that the players will be jumping on. But before that, I'm going to make sure I anchor all the parts we have so far. And make sure the 3 bars we have in the middle are can collide false. We don't want the players cheating by walking on the bars and getting all the way to the other side. So now we can insert the individual steps. So I'm going to insert another part over here, and I'm going to place it right at the start. Alright, so our step is going to look something like this. And we're going to have an identical step on the other side. Now to separate our steps from the 3 bars that we had created earlier, I'm going to change the transparency to 0.7. So that way you know that they are the steps that you're supposed to be on. Now make sure you have the 2 steps selected, and we're going to make sure that these parts are anchored. Also make sure that the can collide option is selected. So now what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate it and fill our entire bridge with these steps. So you can use Control D to duplicate. So I'm going to give it a bit of spacing between the 2 sets of steps. So something like that. And I'm going to continue to duplicate it until we've filled our bridge. Alright, so there. Now I'm going to remove the extra steps that we had duplicated, and I'm going to readjust the size of the bars to match these steps. Now if you want, you can make the bridge a little more colorful, so I'm just going to select the bars, and I'm going to change the color to black. And I'm going to bring our end piece a little closer. Alright, so that's what our bridge will look like. Now the next thing we have to do is we have to group our bridge together. So I'm going to select all the parts of the bridge, and I'm going to do Control G to group all the parts together. And I'm going to name our model bridge. Now, the next thing we have to do is we have to insert a folder inside the bridge. So I'm going to click this little plus sign over here, and I'm going to insert a folder. I'm going to name this folder Steps. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to basically put all of the step parts inside of this folder. Now, to select multiple parts inside a model, you can hold Alt and Shift to select all of the steps. So I'm going to go ahead and select all of these parts, and I'm going to put it inside the folder by dragging it like this. So let me just unselect the steps folder first, and now I'm going to drag all the parts inside of this folder. The next thing we have to do is we have to create an individual folder for each set of steps. So starting with these 2 steps over here that are right beside our starting location, that will be our first set of steps. So I'm going to create a folder inside the steps folder, and I'm going to call it 1. That represents the first set of steps after our start position. So I'm going to select the 2 sets that are part of this first set of steps, and I'm going to put it inside the folder named 1. Now I'm going to repeat this process for the rest of these steps. So the second set of steps is right over here, and I'm going to create a folder called 2. This folder will store all the parts inside the second set of steps. So I'm going to go ahead and select the 2 parts and insert it inside the folder. Now I'm going to repeat this process until all of the steps are placed inside their appropriate folder. Alright, so now I've finished inserting all the steps inside my folder. So now we don't need this anymore. We're going to put the bridge inside of server storage. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to create a GUI which would display the time left in our game. So basically, I'm going to have players spawn at the start location over here. So I'm just going to stick the spawn here. And then I'm going to have the game generate a bridge. And for the bridge, half of the steps will kill the player, but then the other half will let the player advance. And once one of the players gets to the other side, we're going to reset the game and do everything over again. And the players only have, let's say, 3 minutes to get to the other side. So it's going to be a round-based system. So now I'm going to insert a GUI which will allow us to display the amount of time that's left. So I'm going to insert a screen GUI inside start GUI. I'm going to call it timer. I'm going to insert a text label. I'm just going to adjust the size property of this text label so that it spans the entire screen. So you can just copy the numbers here, 1, 0, 0.10. I'm going to make the background invisible. And I'm going to change the text to say time left 180. So it'll basically display the amount of time that's left for all the players. And lastly, I'm going to enable the text scale property so that the text is a little bigger. And I'm going to rename the text label to be called display. So here we can start on the fun part, scripting. So the first thing you want to do is you want to insert a remote event into replicated storage. And we're going to call it time left event. So this remote event, it will basically be responsible for allowing us to update the timer we have here. Next, we're going to insert a script into server script service. So we're going to remove the text that's here and we're going to write our own. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is you want to get server storage. So local server storage equals game get service server storage. Then we want to get the replicated storage where our remote event is. So we're going to do game get service replicated storage. We're going to get the time left event by doing replicated storage, wait for child, time left event. We're going to get the copy of the bridge that we have from server storage. I'm going to call it server bridge. So we're going to do server storage, wait for child, bridge. I'm going to get the start and the end part that we have inside workspace right now. So local start part equals game.workspace.start. Local end part equals game.workspace.end. And we're also going to have a variable which will keep track of the games. So we're going to say local game over equals false. Lastly, I'm going to define a variable called connection. We're going to need that for later. So let's create some functions. So the first function I'm going to make is a function that will teleport everyone back to the start. So this will happen when one of the players gets to the other side or the players run out of time. So we're going to do a local function teleport players to start. And I'm going to use a for loop, which will loop through all the players and teleport them back to the beginning. So we're going to do v.character, wait for child, humanoid, root part, dot cframe equals start part dot cframe plus vector3 dot new 030. Next, we're going to create a function that will initialize the game. So it will basically it'll set up the bridge and it will make it so that half the parts are safe and half the parts aren't. So we're going to do local function initialize game. So the first thing we have to do is we have to clone the bridge we have in server storage. So local cloned bridge equals server bridge clone. Clone bridge.parent equals game.workspace. So we're putting it inside the workspace. Basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a for loop which will basically loop through all of the set of steps inside our bridge and basically assign 1 as the safe step. So we're going to create a random variable, local random equals math.random1, 2. And I'm going to do v get children random dot can collide equals false. V get children random dot touched connect function other part if other part dot parent find first child humanoid, then other part dot parent find first child humanoid take damage 1000. So basically what we've done is for every set of steps that we have, we're going to pick one of the steps between it. We're going to set the can collide property of one of the steps equal to false. Basically, if a player goes over one of the steps, it will make them fall through. Now this section over here will basically kill the player if they touch that part. Alright, and lastly we need a function that will actually start the game. So local function start game, we're going to do local time left equals 180. So we're going to give them 3 minutes to get to the other side. We're going to set the game over value equal to false. Now here's where that connection variable we made earlier comes in handy. Basically we're going to set up a touched event for the end part. So when the end part gets touched, we know that the game is over because a player has reached the end. So if this end part gets touched, we're going to set game over equal to true, and we're going to disconnect the event. Now we're going to have a while loop which will basically run the game. So while true do, we're going to do task.wait 1. If time left equals 0, then we break. So if they've run out of time, we're going to end the game. Otherwise, we're just going to subtract 1 from the time left. We're also going to fire the time left event. So time left event, fire all clients time left. And then we're also going to check if game over is equal to true. So if game over is equal to true, we're going to break out of the script. We're going to break out of the loop. This only happens when a player has reached the end. And at the bottom of the function over here, we're just going to destroy the bridge that we had created earlier. So destroying the bridge will allow us to put in a new bridge after with a new sequence of safe steps. And lastly, to run the game, we're going to have another while loop. We're basically going to teleport all the players to start. We're going to initialize the game. We're going to start the game. And I'm just going to add a task.wait over here. And this while loop will ensure that the game continues to loop after it's been finished. So players can play over and over and over again. The last thing we have to do is we have to go into the starter GUI where we created the GUI earlier. And we're going to insert a local script. So this local script will allow us to update the timer. So we're going to remove the text that's already here, and we're going to do local replicated storage equals game get service replicated storage. We're going to get the time left event. We're going to get the timer. And we're going to get the display. So we're going to have a function that will update the GUI. We're going to call it update time with the parameter time left. So whenever this function gets called, we're going to update the text that's displayed to time left with a colon, and we concatenate the value of time left to the string. The last thing we have to do is we have to connect the function to the remote event. So time left event on client event, connect update time. Alright, so let's test this out. But first I'm going to bring the bridge back to the workspace, and I'm going to bring everything up a bit, just so we can see the player falling when we hit a wrong step. So I'm just going to raise it up a little bit. I'm going to put the bridge back into server storage. Okay, and now we can test the game. Okay, and it seems things are not working. The timer isn't running and the bridge isn't spawning. So let's see what we did wrong. So what I want to do now is I want to open the command prompt and the output window. So I can go under view and click this button over here to see the output. Okay, it says server storage cannot be cloned. Alright, it seems I misreferenced one of the variables over here. I'm not trying to clone server storage, I'm trying to clone the bridge. So I'm going to run that again. Alright, so the bridge appears and the timer is running. So let's see if I go through one of these steps over here. Okay, now lets me go on. So if this step is safe, it means the other step isn't safe. And we see that's the case. So let's try to speedrun this. So I know the first step is safe on the right, and I'm going to guess the second one. Alright, so the first two on the right are safe. Okay. Since the third step over here isn't safe, I know I have to go on the left side. So right, right, left. And then I'll go left again. Left again. Left again. Left again. Oh, well that was easy. So once I've completed the challenge, it sends me back to the beginning and it resets the time left. Now the change happens very instantaneously, so you don't actually see it, but the bridge, the old bridge, actually got destroyed, and this is a different bridge. Now we know this is a different bridge because in the previous round, this right square over here was safe, but now it isn't. And that's because every single time the game is run, it generates a new different bridge. So I'm going to run the game again, and you can see that since the right square isn't safe, we can go on the left. Alright, so left, left, left. Alright, so the first three are left, and then the fourth one is on the right. So left, 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 right. Okay, so left, 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 right, and then left again. Left, 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 right, left, left, left. Alright, so now I've completed it. All I have to do is touch that part over here. And as you can see, it sends me back and resets the timer. So that's how you make the Squid Game Glass Bridge challenge in Roblox Studio. If you're looking for a really straightforward way to learn Roblox scripting and Roblox development in general, I highly recommend you check out my course on Udemy. I'll leave links in the description and in the comments below. This course will take you through the complete basics of the Roblox Studio interface and programming on Roblox, with quizzes and notes to reinforce your understanding. Then we'll move to the more advanced concepts where I'll teach you everything you need to become a master scripter. Finally, we're going to put it all together to make your very first Roblox game. By the end of this course, you'll have the skills to bring your ideas to life. Are you ready? Join me today and let's start creating.